Morning, everyone. I'm back. Uh, Welcome to our Module 3 of our CBME 101 Operations Management with TQM. So, for our Module 3, we'll be discussing more about forecasting. So, it's very timely that forecasting has been one of our discussions for this week because of the current issues and that we have right now in terms of number one, the weather, number two, about our pandemic in terms of demand and supply to different products. And now, I'll be discussing to you the three lessons. The first one is the introduction. Then the second one will be lesson number two will be the features common to all forecasts. And number three, what are the elements of a good forecast. Okay, so we now move on. Um, let's go to the 3.1. What is forecasting? So we all know forecasting is a statement about the future value or variable interest. Forecasts are basic input in the decision process of operations management because they provide information on future demand. Okay, so yung forecasting na dinidiscuss natin about the operations management primarily focuses on what would be the possible demand in the future. Because forecasting has been is one part of planning in terms of what are those things that we're gonna do, what are those things that we're gonna need to purchase in the future. Uh, so there are different reasons why we need to make a forecast in terms of our organization. Number one, the main number one purpose is how we be able to attain our objective. So that's why we need to be able to create a forecast or make a forecast that what are those things that we need to do in the future based on the historical data or inputs that we have experienced or that we have already gathered from what is existing, okay, in our in operations management. But in different form, just like the weather forecast, no? If forecast natin yung ano yung mangyayari, ano yung direksyon, saan patungo yung bagyo, ah, ano yung gaano kalakas, ano yung dulo, ano yung mangyayari, ano yung mangyayari dun sa epekto ng bagyo na yun. Now, that is also the fact that forecasting is a very important to business organization because we need to plan, no, for our future operations. Okay, so there are two aspects of forecast that are very important. One is the expected level of demand, okay, and the other is the degree of accuracy that can be assigned to a forecast. Okay? So that those are the two aspects of forecast which are very important. Okay. The expected demand. Okay, for example, during the time of December, we all know that there are a lot of influx of tourists coming in Vegan. Now, with the pandemic that we are experiencing right now, um, we need to make a forecast that we all know that there will be less tourists coming in by December. So, with those less tourists coming in, what are those things that we need to do in terms of the level of demand? And in order also for us to cope up with these certain problems encountered during the pandemic, no, we need also to forecast in the future what are those things that we need to do in terms of the level of demand. Okay, that's one. Okay. Then the degree of accuracy. Kasi yung sa degree of accuracy assigned to a forecast, ang in terms of operations management, ang nagiging basis natin is yung historical data. What were those activities or what were those data or inputs that were gathered previously might be helpful to our business organizations. Those certain data, those certain inputs can be helpful to our organization. Okay. Okay. So forecasts are made with reference to a specific time horizon. Yun yung isang basis natin. Yung sinasabi natin time horizon. Okay, so forecasts, as we all say, forecasts are made with reference to specific time horizon. The time horizon may be fairly short or somewhat longer. Okay, yun yung tinatawag natin the aspect of planning. No? Yung tinatawag natin forecast. Okay, it can be a forecast for an hour, forecast for a day, forecast for a week or month. Okay, yung longer naman is next 6 months, next year, next 5 years, or the life of a product or service. So, yun yung tinatawag natin, yung tinatawag natin short-term forecast and the long-range forecast. Okay. So on the short-term forecast, focuses on, says here, pertains to ongoing operations. Okay. So what are those activities that we need to do day by day, day by day, that could affect the business or that could affect the operations of the business organization. And the long range forecast are important strategic too. These are certain activities that can be done in a long term that will affect the goals and objective of the business organization. Okay. So short term can be a day, 2 months. Long range forecast can be from 6 months to more than 10 years until the business organizations uh, um, products, what we call that, uh, life of the product. Okay. So long-term forecast pertain to new products or services, new equipment, new facilities, or something else that will require a somewhat long lead time to develop, construct, or otherwise. So it will affect the entirety of the business organizations. Okay. Pero yung short term, based on the what is happening within the context of the organization. Yung short term. Kasi yung epekto ng short term is ano yung mga gagawin mo, yung mga maliliit na bagay na gagawin mo in order to attain a specific objective. Yung long range is what are those activities or programs or projects that you need to do in order to attain the goals and objectives of the business organization to attain your for you to be able to attain your vision for the business organization or for the organization itself. Okay, so what are those basis for forecast? Why do we need to forecast? Ano yung mga naapektuhan ng forecast? Budgeting, okay, in terms of the finances. Planning capacity, okay, is the process whereby the organization predict its amount or content that an organization can produce or sell. Okay, for example, yung nangyayari sa production ng food or yung sa longganisa production, ano yung ginagawa nangyayari sa atin? Okay? We produce products. Alam natin na during December, madaming taong pumupunta dito sa Ilocos, madaming turistang pumupunta, bibili ng product. So, kailangan ba natin gumawa ng madaming product in order for us to sell this product? Kasi madaming demand, pag madaming demand, kailangan din natin na mag-produce ng ganong kalaki ng produkto, ay ganong karami ng produkto. So, kaya ba natin i-produce yung ganun na kailangan na demand? Okay? We also forecast about our sales. Okay? Kailangan, sales is the process of forecasting whereby the organization predicts its total number of products to be sold. Kailangan alamin mo for you to attain your objective by the month of um, December. Kailangan ganito na yung quota na ganito na yung sales natin. Kaya nga, yung mga different business organizations, ano mo ginagawa? Nagsiset sila ng quota. Okay? When setting a quota, yung specific number of sales to a certain individual, yan ang quota. So, nagsiset sila ng quota so as to determine nila kung maaabot nila yun, that would be the basis of forecasting their sales. Nalalaman na nila eh. Alam na nila kung paano nila gagawin. Alam nila kung ano yung ilan yung mga mabebenta nilang product. So, restricting business organizations to a certain quota, that would also be their basis of predicting their sales. Okay, okay. Next, we now go to production and inventory. Production and inventory, in terms of forecast, is the process of forecasting whereby the organization predicts its total number of goods to produce and total number of materials to be stored. For example, in terms of production, how many products do we need to produce and how many products do we need to store in terms of inventory management. No? That's what we were. That's the number of materials. Okay, so production and inventory. Personnel. In terms of personnel, ilan yung mga ano yung mga kailangan kong tao in terms of para sa organizations. Okay. It's like, for example, in a grocery store, during December, madaming pumupunta, bumibili ng mga products. Kailangan nila ng magdagdag ng mga tao para alam nila kung how, in order for them to be able to, um, as a part of what you call support system. Okay. How many do we need to work? So that's on the part of person purchasing. It's the process of forecasting whereby the organization predicts the total number of raw materials to be purchased. The purchasing, production and inventory, sales, and the planning capacity goes hand in hand in terms of forecasting because we need, kailangan natin alamin kung ilan yung purchase natin from our forecast in production. No? Alam natin ilan yung gagawin natin na products. So that's why pag nalaman mo, i-pre-predict mo, i-pre-predict mo rin yung purchasing. Okay? So ganun yung mangyayari. Kasi alam na naman natin, for example, there are certain times na pabago-bago ang presyo ng mga products. That's why, especially agricultural products, ang ginagawa nila during the season whereby these products are cheap in the market, bultuhan yung binibili nila. Okay? Para pagdating nung panahon na these certain products will get expensive, may products pa rin sila. That's on what we call materials stored. May raw materials pa rin sila na nagagamit. Then after that, malilesen yung expenses nila in terms of operational cost kasi meron pa rin silang products. That's on the part of what we call purchasing. Okay. Okay, so here are some examples of uses of forecast in business organizations. We have in accounting, okay, process, cost estimates, profit projections, cash management, finance, equipment, replacement needs, timing, and the amount of funding borrowing needs. Alamin natin kung kailan natin gagamitin ng pera na ito in terms of expenditures in the future. Okay. Human resources in terms of hiring activities. What are those possible times na kailangan natin na mag-hire ng mga tao? Okay. That's one factor. Marketing, pricing and promotion, e-business strategies, global competition strategies. MIS, new or revised information systems, and the internet services. Okay. Example, ngayon, kailangan natin na mag-expand ng resources natin in terms of the internet. Kaya tignan mo yung ginagawa ng mga telecommunication companies. They're trying to uh, develop more programs na pwedeng um, makatulong, especially that we are now using internet as mode of delivery of instruction. Operations. Okay, so under operations, yun yung ginagamit natin ang forecast in terms of scheduling. What are those scheduling is ano yung mga products na gagawin natin on the certain months, on the certain dates. Capacity planning, ilan yung kaya ng kumpanya natin na gawan, or to produce a product. Work assignments, workloads, inventory planning, make or buy decisions, outsourcing and project management. Then we have also product and service design is used in forecasting. The vision of current features, design of new products or services. Okay? Ginagamit yan, especially sa mga technology. Look what is Apple is doing right now. Nagpo-forecast sila ng, ng trends. What is new trends and what is old trends. Tinitingnan nila so as they can be able to produce certain products that could be available in the market. So there are two uses of forecast. One is to help managers plan the system, and the other is to help them plan the use of the system. Okay. Forecast is needed as it that will augment, will help the certain managers in order to make a plans for the business organization. That's one part. Okay. With those certain plans, the other use is with those certain plans, it will help. That will help these business organizations in the implementation of the or in the implementation of that certain activity or that certain program. Okay. From a forecasting type, this will be the basis of the manager to make plans. From the certain plans, this will help the implementers to use that certain system in order to implement that certain activity for the business organization. Okay. That is what we call continuing system. Okay. Planning the system generally involves long range plans about the types of products and services to offer, what facilities and equipment to have, where to locate, and so on. The other is to help them plan the use of the system. Planning the use of the system refers to short range and intermediate range planning, which involves such as planning inventory and workforce. So yun yung use ng one, yung tawag natin, forecast. Okay? It will help the system, which the system will help these managers to implement that certain system. Ganyan yung ginagamit natin ng forecast. Okay, so in terms of business forecasting, uh, it's a type of forecasting that pertains to more than predicting demand in terms of our customer. Business forecasting is used to predict the following. Number one, profits, your financial gains, revenues, the income of the organization, costs. Tries to predict the payment in terms of costing. Example, yung raw materials na bibilihin natin, mahal ngayon, probably in the future, alam natin na or cheap ngayon yung product ngayon, and then it will try to produce, it will try to lessen the costings by purchasing more products during that certain period that these certain products are not yet expensive. So it will lessen the cost. Next is productivity changes. It tries to predict the changes of quality in producing a product. Okay, that's what we call productivity changes. Okay. For example, we need to we need this certain type of forecasting in order for us to develop the old system or the old products to create a new product. Prices, what will happen in the future in terms of, especially if there is what's called demand. Okay? Kasi nangyayari, if yung tinatawag natin law of supply and demand, pag madaming demand ay madaming supply, ay mababa ang demand. Ano mangyayari? The price is low. If the supply is less and the demand is greater, the price is higher. Uh, in terms of forecasting, that can be on another basis. Availability of energy and raw materials, okay, that's also one. Interest rates, when would be the right time to be able to make loan, no? The proportion of the loan for the organization. Okay. Movements of key economic indicators, prices of stocks and bonds. Those are also examples of business forecasting. Okay. So that's all. That's all on lesson number one. Okay, we now resume. So what are the features common to all forecasts? There are four. Okay. So a wide variety of forecasting techniques are in use in many respects. They are quite different from each other, as you shall soon discover. Nonetheless, certain features are common to all, and it is important to recognize them. Number one is forecasting techniques generally assume that the same underlying causal system that existed in the past will continue to exist in the future. That's on the part of kung ano yung nangyari noon, possibly ganun din yung mangyayari ngayon. For example, sa business organizations natin, the influx of tourists, alam natin na during Holy Week and December, madaming pumupunta. So, ibig sabihin, pag ganun ang nangyayari, ganun yung trend, we're talking about trend, ganun yung trend, possible na in the future, ganun din yung mangyayari in terms of yung trend natin sa demand. So, alam natin na ganitong time, no, ganun yung mangyayari. Dadami ang influx, dadami ang demand, dadami ang sales during this certain period. Okay, that is what we call an example of what we call historical data. Next, forecasts are not perfect. Actual results usually differ from predicted values. The presence of randomness precludes a perfect forecast. Allowances should be made for forecast errors. Okay. Next, forecasts or groups of items tend to be more accurate than forecasts for individual items because forecasting errors among items in group usually have a cancelling effect. Opportunities for grouping may arise if parts or raw materials are used for multiple products or if a product service is demanded by a number of independent sources. Then the last is forecast accuracy decreases as the time period covered by the forecast, the time horizon, increases. Generally speaking, short-range forecasts must contend with fewer uncertainties than longer-range forecasts. So they tend to be more accurate. Ibig sabihin, mas accurate yung short term because nai-implement na kaagad. Aside from yung sa long range, there are certain instances na during the course of that certain implementation of that certain program, may nangyayari na nagbabago. May mga pagbabago. So once that there are certain changes, it will affect the forecast that has been predicted in the future, in that certain period, no? So masasabi natin na mas accurate yung mga short range forecast than the long range forecasts. Okay? So those are features common to all forecasts. And the last one is what are those elements of a good forecast? Okay. So number one, forecast should be timely. Usually a certain amount of time is needed to respond to information contained in a forecast. Kailangan uh, forecast cannot the capacity cannot be expanded for overnight, nor can inventory levels be changed immediately. Hence, the forecasting horizon must cover the time necessary to implement possible changes. Okay, so it must be on that certain time of aspect of time ng pangyayari nung operations natin. Hindi pwede yung ginagamit mo yung forecast not on that certain event or not on that certain situations, or kailangan it should be done on that certain type of period. Okay. The forecast should be accurate, then the degree of accuracy should be stated. This will enable users to plan for possible errors and will provide a basis for comparing alternative forecasts. Okay. The accuracy of forecast should be one of our focus because this will be their basis in terms of planning for the business organization. Because if it is not accurate, this will affect the planning or the decision making of certain managers for the business organizations. Number three, it must be reliable. So there are certain issues of reliability which pertains to forecast on to whom or whoever whom to whom or kung sino yung mga individuals na nag-present nung or nag-predict nung forecast. So, a technique that sometimes provides a good forecast and sometimes a poor one will leave users with an easy feeling that they may get burned every time a new forecast is issued. No? Um, yung accuracy and reliability, magiging factors yan. Magiging factors yan. Kung sino ba yung nagsabi, kung sino ba yung nagsabi nung, kung sino ba nag-present nung tinatawag nating forecast. Okay? Forecast should be expressed in meaningful units. Ibig sabihin, kailan naiintindihan nila yung mga ah, ba, yan, yung mga items that needed for these certain individuals to know that how can we able to predict, for example, yung meaningful units, alam nila yung quantity, they use about, for example, the quantity, they use pieces, not they do not use yung mga ibang methods. For example, in terms of production, we use pieces, no, not on tons, not on metric tons, hindi ganun. Kasi yung mga iba nagbe-base sila doon sa meaningful units. Then number five is forecast should be in writing. Okay, so the forecast should be in writing. Okay. Number six, the forecast technique should be simple to understand and use. Yes, yun yung kailangan. Dapat napakasimple na para intindihan. Users often lack confidence in forecast based on sophisticated techniques. They do not understand either the circumstances in which the techniques are appropriate or the limitations of the techniques. Misuse of techniques is an obvious consequence. Not surprisingly, fairly simple forecasting techniques enjoy widespread popularity because users are more comfortable working with them. And the last is the forecast should be cost effective. No? The benefits should outweigh the cost. Kailangan hindi madaming expenses, hindi madami yung waste na nagagamit natin in terms of the delivery and predicting certain activities for the business organizations. Okay. So that ends our week 6 of our topic in module 3. Okay. So if there are any questions, just write it on the comment section of our LMS, our Google Classroom, so that we could answer those certain questions for you to be able to understand our topic. Okay. So Once again, this is your professor, Justin Soria, uh, discussing you about on the module number 3. And that's all, and good day.